Coming up, Daily Iowan reporters got an exclusive interview with Iowa House member Sydney Axney.
And a new workout trend has made its way to Iowa.
I hope you like sweets because we preview the Iowa women's basketball team's big matchup in the Sweet 16.
And we'll discuss a big roster change coming out of men's basketball later on in sports.
Spring is in the air, and I think it's here to stay. Find out more in weather.
All that and more coming up on this Friday morning edition of DITV.
Don't go anywhere. DITV starts right now.
Good morning and thank you for tuning in. I'm Declan Levy.
And I'm Jacob Gunther. The UISG held a VP debate yesterday, but more on that later.
The Green New Deal has been the talk of the town in D.C. recently, and we have DITV reporters in Washington. They sat down with Representative Sydney Axney to hear about her plans to make Iowa more environmentally conscious.
I directed the state's energy and environment plan for the state of Iowa, helped make Iowa #2 in wind production in the country. I've helped bring in the renewable fuels into Iowa. I compost in the middle of winter in the Midwest. That is about as hard as you can get. I totally understand we need to address climate change. We can't do that with a white paper. We need to do that with appropriate laws and with actual tangible things that we're doing on the ground. So I'm looking at my agriculture committee opportunities as one of those opportunities. I call like new technology agriculture, and we can not just invest more in wind and solar, but new ways that we're looking at agriculture from tillage practices that release carbon to capture that carbon, store it, and sell it as energy. We can build up a smart grid to make sure that we can then sell that across the region. So these are real tangible things that I'm working on, or rather it's a feed additive for our cattle to reduce methane output through some personal behaviors that they all have, and that methane output reduces carbon output, and carbon output, of course, impacts climate change. And so if we can reduce methane output from our food production line, we're absolutely working to fight against climate change.
As well as explaining her plans for making Iowa more energy efficient, Axney gave a brief list of areas she would like to improve across the country.
You know, I really think we're all trying to reach very similar outcomes, and that's putting more money in hardworking families' pockets across this country, making sure everybody has access to affordable quality health care, and lowering the cost of prescription drugs, and making sure we have infrastructure everywhere that works for people. Like in lots of rural parts of the country, people don't even have access to the internet. So those are the priorities that my district wants, and quite honestly, they're the priorities that this country wants.
We have one of the reporters who went to D.C. live in the newsroom, the Daily Iowan's politics editor, Sarah Watson. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Now, what was it like in Washington, D.C.?
Well, it was a real whirlwind tour. I mean, we interviewed 5 out of the 6 members of Iowa's congressional delegation, met with people in newsrooms, and of course toured the monuments. And what was really striking about being in Washington, D.C. was just the amount of history that was at your feet. You knew that for hundreds of years, lawmakers and civilians alike had been walking along the National Mall to the Lincoln Memorial in the House office buildings. So that was really a humbling experience.
And what was it like talking to members of Congress?
So like I said, we interviewed 5 out of the 6 members of Iowa's delegation, and we talked about a wide range of issues, including the Green New Deal, like you just saw. We also talked about the Midwest flooding that's hitting the western side of the state. We talked about the Mueller report, which dropped while we were in Washington, D.C. Attorney General William Barr released a summary that week. So we interviewed our members of the congressional delegation about that. And it was just the politicians. It was really great to see them in person. You got to hear their voice, meet their staff members. And so for example, in one of our interviews with Abby Finkenauer, she showed us a picture that she kept on her desk of her grandfather, who's a former lieutenant in the Dubuque Fire Department, which we would never have gotten with an interview over the phone.
And what was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, so like I said, with the Mueller report dropping that week, we asked about that to each of our members of Congress. And the biggest takeaway from the Mueller report was that our representatives and senators wanted to shift the focus away from whether or not the President Trump's campaign colluded with Russia, shifting that focus to how can we protect the integrity of America's elections in 2016? Because whether or not President Trump colluded with Russia, there was still an interference by a foreign nation in our 2016 election.
That's Sarah Watson, live in the newsroom. Thank you.
The University of Iowa student government held a debate for their vice presidential candidates Thursday night. The three candidates, Madahir Belki of Inspire UI, Sarah Henry of Ignite Iowa, and Adi Aru of UI Charge, each took turns answering questions regarding tuition, uses of student service funds, campus accessibility, and more. The candidates each provided their own unique perspectives to each of the topics and questions asked, as well as explaining what they would like to do for UI students if they were elected as vice president. For more on each candidate, visit dailyiowan.com.
And they're going to have a pretty busy week or two with their election, but man, do we have some awesome weather outside, man.
It has been a heck of a week. Hopefully it sticks with us. We're going to toss it over to Dylan Mahalki live in the weather studio. Dylan?
Thanks, Jake Declan. Yes, you guys are completely right. The warm temperatures are here to stay. As you can see in this graphic I have up here, you can see there's above average temperatures and near average, and then way down south, likely above average temperatures all around the U.S. So the warm weather is very much here to stay. You saw we had 65-degree weather a couple of days ago, and that looks like it will continue. As you look into the tree pollen index, actually, you can see that there's very high pollen down south, which means that warmer temperature will rise up north and come up to the beautiful state of Iowa. Now, as looking to the temperature today here in Iowa City, we have a temperature of 43 degrees this morning and partly cloudy skies. As we move into tonight, that temperature only goes up 1 degree, but it'll be around the 50s towards the middle of the day, so a beautiful day all around. Now, as we move into the extended forecast for the week, you can see as of today, it gets as high as 56 degrees. Tomorrow, our temperature drops a little bit due to the wind chill. It's got 19-mile-per-hour winds and a high of 45 and a low of 25. Sunday, there's no clouds and the sun comes out. We have a high of 47 and a low of 31. The warm temperatures, though, come right back on Monday. We have partly cloudy skies with a high in the mid-50s and a low in the high 30s. Finally, Tuesday is our warmest of the week. We have a high up to 61 degrees, partly cloudy skies, small chance of rain, but a low of only in the mid-40s. Well, it looks like the temperatures are here to stay, and there's no rain in the forecast, so it should be a beautiful week of sun for here in Iowa City. Jacob and Declan, back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Dylan. Jake, you'll like this one. A new fitness studio opened yesterday in Iowa City, and DITV news reporter Susanna Klooster has all the details for you here.
And we're moving on a 2 count to follow me. Let's move.
Movement, strength, and balance, that is what Bar 3, whose grand opening was on Thursday in Iowa City, is all about. Maureen Byrne, the studio owner, is an Iowa native and has a background in higher education administration, but left in 2018 when she began listening to podcasts about Bar 3's mission and values.
The reason why I wanted to bring Bar 3 to Iowa City is that I really felt that the connection between the mind and the body was something that I wanted to bring to our community. So our mission at Bar 3 is to teach people to be balanced in their body and empowered from within. And we do that through creating a workout that is a full body balanced workout that provides strength conditioning, cardio, and mindfulness.
The workouts you see here are a mix between yoga and ballet bar classes, but you don't need to have experiences in either to participate, as the classes are accommodating and welcoming to newcomers. Reporting from Iowa City, I'm Susanna Klooster, DITV News.
You always have options.
Very interesting. Bar 3 is located at 1312 Melrose Avenue and is offering a complimentary first class to the public for their first month of business.
Well, Jacob, big day for one reporter. The women's basketball beat reporter Natalie Acapelli, she's headed to the women's game when they take on in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, super exciting. And then we also have some more stuff on sports with Kate Overton and Marissa Kraft in the sports studio.
Thanks, guys. The Iowa women's basketball team is traveling to Greensboro, North Carolina for the NCAA Sweet 16. With more, we have women's basketball beat reporter Natalie Acapeti live in the newsroom to tell us more. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning, how are you guys?
We're great, Natalie. So Natalie, what can you tell us about this upcoming matchup for the Hawks?
Well, the Hawks will be taking on number 3 North Carolina State tomorrow morning in Greensboro, North Carolina at 10:30 Central Time. But before I give you my take on that game, let's hear from head coach Lisa Bluter.
We obviously know we've got a tough challenge with NC State. They're playing 80 miles away from their campus. They're playing in a familiar building. This is where the ACC tournament is held every year, and so this is a place that they've played numerous games. So definitely they have the home court advantage, so to speak.
Well, with that being said, the Hawks will not have their Hawkeye fan base there, but it will still be an intense game just because it is the Sweet 16. And it's a one-and-done game, basically. But it is going to be a big battle between post players Megan Gustafson and North Carolina State freshman Elisa Kuning, who averages 16.6 points per game and 6.1 rebounds, and she's shooting a 57%. But on the other hand, the Hawks do have Gustafson, who is averaging an NCAA best of 28 points per game and leads the nation in field goal percentage, shooting 70.1%. So it is going to be a battle in the paint, but it's kind of a rookie and senior going against each other. So I do feel that Megan is going to show her kind of how it is done in the paint. But with that being said, I do think the Hawks are going to come out with this win, but kind of just that's how it's going to be.
You're right, Natalie. I totally agree with you. I think Megan Gustafson is going to have a great weekend, and hopefully we see the Hawks doing some more. But what do you think is going to keep the Hawks fighting this weekend?
Well, like I said with Megan, she is a senior, but also Bluter does say that she sees hunger in her players' eyes. So senior Hannah Stewart had a little bit to say about how she's a senior and how this could be her last game, but doesn't want it to be.
We know that there's more games to be played and that we can go further. We're not really going to be satisfied just because we know how good we are and the potential that we have to keep going. And we've talked a lot about how, the Big Ten tournament, that wasn't our peak. We're still going to keep going, keep getting better, keep peaking, and really just play the best basketball that we can. So, yeah, excited and hungry is we're not going to be complacent yet. So.
Well, that being said, those seniors average a collective 49.4 points, 22.9 rebounds, and 8.5 assists altogether.
Those are some pretty crazy stats. So what is the scenario if Iowa were to beat NC State tomorrow morning?
Well, they would be taking on the winner of South Carolina and Baylor on Monday night at 6 p.m., but follow the Daily Iowan at Twitter for live updates throughout the weekend.
That was Natalie Acapeti live in the newsroom. Thank you.
Moving on from one sport to the next, we're going to take a look at, we're going to the field house with gymnastics. We're going to take a look at Kimberly Bates and see what she has to say about the NCAA tournament that they will be heading to.
Thanks, guys. The Gym Hawks found out this past weekend that they will be competing in Corvallis, Oregon for the NCAA regional competition, where they will be competing in a dual match against Arizona. I spoke with Coach Libby and a few of the Hawks to see what they're expecting and how they are preparing.
I really just want to put it all out there because it could be our last chance. Every time we go up, could be our last chance of the season. So less about trying to be perfect and more trying to just go for all the details and just go as big as possible.
But yeah, we're just really working on what we can do best, and I mean, there's no any pressure because this is the end of the season. Of course, we want to qualify more on, but it's not like we have huge pressure. It's more expectations that we have ourselves, that we expect to win on Thursday, we expect to win on Friday and qualify into Saturday.
That's all we have for you here. Now we'll take it to Jacob and Declan back at the desk.
And that's all we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. My name's Jacob Gunther.
And I'm Declan Levy. Have a great day, Iowa City.